All right. Good morning. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Today is May 24th, and today's featured topic is Your Work Does Not Speak for Itself. You do. Rick Gillis is joining us again. Did a fabulous job last week, and I'm looking forward to the follow-on presentation today. Please note that the event is being recorded. It may be uploaded later if Jeff gets to feeling better soon. So right now we are recording, but it won't be available yet at the Career USA YouTube channel. Just a reminder, our founding member, Jeff Morris, and his illustrious career. I won't go through those bullets as usual. But I do invite you to check out the Pit Crew at dallaspitcrew.com. That continues to be a great resource. I hear about it almost every day in the various groups around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we do ask for continued prayers for Jeff's recovery. While Jeff is recovering, myself and Walt Glass have become temporary leaders of the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And as a reminder, you can go out to Jeff's website, careerdfw.org, for a lot of resources, including a calendar that looks like this with all the various groups that are meeting in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and beyond. All right. Do we have any success stories today? Has anyone landed or gotten a contract?
Ruth Baumgartner.
Ruth Baumgartner landed. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anthony's going to speak on behalf of Ruth.
Good morning, everyone. Ruth Baumgartner, she landed on yesterday, and she is in the field of healthcare. She is going to be a technologist for this physician specialist.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right. We're also going to have our usual 30-second introductions. Then we'll have our career tip of the week. Rosina is juggling her son's procedure this morning, so that'll be interesting. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Pit Crew and the interview success workshop, and then we'll move on to the main event. Rick Gillis. All right. So if you would put your 30-second introduction in the Zoom chat, name, LinkedIn, and or email, phone position you're looking for, and 2 or 3 target companies. And we'll give you just a second to do that.
You can hit that little speaker icon on the left of the slide. It'll play the Jeopardy music.
I'm playing it. How do I share?
Usually you have to share sound when you share your, yeah, there you go.
Can you hear it now?
Not really. You usually have to share your sound on your computer when you share your screen. Maybe you guys can hear it on your side. It's kind of going in and out.
Okay. Well, 30 seconds is up. I'll figure that one out later. Patty, apparently I need a message or a lesson. I taught Patty how to change her profile picture in Zoom so she can show me how to share audio in Zoom.
No problem.
All right. Time for 30-second introductions. In the room, Mr. Autry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Hart. I'm a senior retail manager / merchandiser. I help company grow, rebus sales, and drive profit at the same time, reduce costs. Anthony Hart.
Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, okay, cool. My name is Marshall Gully. I'm working, I'm a supply chain analyst and looking for a position in that. I'm also working as a writer and author and trying to transition over to more intelligence and information type information. And that's me.
Thank you very much. All right. Patty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Bashy. I'm based out of the Phoenix, Arizona area. I'm an account director or senior customer success manager looking to work in a marketing research firm. I could work remotely or work hybrid here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I look forward to connecting with you if I haven't already. I'm Patty Bashy.
Patty. Thank you. Mike Murphy.
Hello, I'm Mike Murphy. I'm a senior network engineer. I've been a team leader for quite a period of time, an advisor to small businesses, started one, have an entrepreneurial mindset, and really looking forward to hearing this presentation.
Thanks, Mike. Rhonda.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Sellers. I'm a certified construction specifier for architects. I write and edit architectural specifications, coordinate specs and drawings, and collaborate with architects and manufacturers reps. I'm currently seeking or determining target firms by informational interviews. I'm Rhonda Sellers.
Thank you, Rhonda. Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Rowan. I'm a former .NET developer, and I've sort of retired now, and still going to several of these meetings. But I'm looking for something in the .NET development area.
Thank you, Steve. Rick. Still muted.
Still muted. How's that?
There you go.
Okay. Were you talking to me, or is there another Rick?
No, I was talking to you.
Okay. No, I'm gainfully employed and wish I could make some money doing it. I'm a speaker and a writer, and I'm developing this new process and developing a new business that I'll be sharing with you guys in just a little bit.
Thanks, Rick. And Audra.
Give her the microphone.
Yes. Hi, I'm Audrey Russell, recent PR graduate, and my goal eventually is PR companies or marketing companies. Thank you.
Thank you. She just walked in. I put her on the spot. Sorry about that. All right. And now it's time for the career tip of the week. Do we have Rosina? We don't. All right. So we may come back to Rosina. All right. Walt.
Good morning, everyone.
They can hear you.
I'm going to have to use the microphone. Hang on.
Go up there.
Yeah.
Our technical expertise, we actually have 4 computers going today in the room just to accomplish one simple thing.
How can you close my door and barricade me in like a fucking animal?
Okay, can you hear me okay? Thumbs up?
No.
All right, thank you much, Steve. So I'm Walt Glass, and I represent a group of one that volunteers to help job seekers improve their interviewing skills. How can we grow?
Yeah, I'm tired of this shit.
Enthusiasm for users in the job. So what I do is I offer this interview success workshop, which is free. You can look at my LinkedIn page and see information about the workshop, but it's very informal. And we're learning how to sell ourselves by selling who we are, what we do, and how we can help. You know, in sales, you'll hear salespeople talk about what are the features, what are the benefits, features and benefits. It's something that's been around for years. And so we have features and benefits too, and they are who we are and what we do, and our benefits are how we help. So that QR code on the screen will start an email, and I think the next slide has something on that too. And you just need to edit that a little bit and send that to me to my Yahoo email address. And I'll be glad to give you some dates and times for scheduling the workshop. I do it on Tuesdays, 9 to 11 Central, and it's all on Zoom. I want to have 1 or 2 people at a time. I also offer a free consulting one-on-one schedule. If you're interested in taking advantage of that, just let me know. So what is it about the workshop that's different? Informal and a learning interview. It's not a mock interview. It's not one that you have to worry about. I just need a job description so I can focus with you on the job you're looking for as a sample or real, and a resume, which I don't need a top-notch resume. I just need to know your background and information. So don't worry about how your resume looks. Just gives me that information to help you. So I'd be glad to have you participate. So I call it learning without squirming. Are we tired of the interview chase where there's a lot of competition to face? Well, in this case, the workshop is the right place to learn selling ourselves and win the race.
Very nice. Thank you, Walt. All right. You put the microphone down and we're about to talk about the pit crew. Or are you done? Got it? Oh, okay.
And Nat, I can get on right after the pit crew.
Oh, there you are, Rosina. Okay.
If you've not had the opportunity to participate with the pit crew, you're missing a wonderful opportunity to learn, to grow, and to develop your interviewing skills. Pit crew is every Wednesday of the month, first, second, and third Wednesday, and on the fourth Wednesday, it is on Zoom. We meet at this building at United Methodist Church at 1 to 241. Our fearless leader is Ron Layton. Send him a job description and a resume, and he will contact you back through the email.
Thank you.
BBS on the 13th.
All right. I'm gonna go back to our tip of the week. Rosina has been kind enough to join us despite via audio only, despite working around the procedures on us having this morning. So we appreciate you joining us and working this in. Thank you, Rosina.
Not a problem. Thanks for letting me have a delay. All right. So, oops. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but give me just a second to get inside my truck, and that way you don't have all the car noise here. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. Well, this week's career tip of the week is on LinkedIn hashtags. This is going to be a 17-page complete guide on how to use hashtags on LinkedIn. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I would highly recommend you read it in its completion. But like I said, it's a 17-page guide. So this article is produced by Manor Sheikh. She did a great job of writing this guide, and this guide is produced from a marketing perspective. Yet, what I would love for you guys to do is insert your own industry perspectives in place of the tips and examples that she uses throughout the guide. So on this first page, and that's kind of really where I'm just going to highlight, she wrote, basically, LinkedIn is more than just a networking site. It's a top spot for generating leads and getting your brand seen. one strategy for driving growth and visibility on the network is using the right hashtags. And in this post, or this guide, so to speak, she's going to walk you through finding, using, and optimizing LinkedIn hashtags to get more eyes on your content and basically on you. So she's also rounding out the whole guide with the top 30 most popular hashtags on the network so that you can hop on relevant trends and boost your LinkedIn marketing strategy. Basically, again, boosting your LinkedIn, boosting your visibility as you're going through this guide. And then the table of contents for this 17-page guide is what are LinkedIn hashtags, how to use hashtags on LinkedIn, how to find and follow new hashtags on LinkedIn, tips for optimizing your hashtags on LinkedIn, and then the most popular LinkedIn hashtags for 2023. You want to use this hashtag guide as a learning tool. Take the information contained within it and apply it to hashtag basically your job title, hashtag your industry, hashtag your top 20 to 30 target companies. And then very interesting, when I was reading this article or reading the guide, you want to also hashtag those target companies that are the competitors of your target companies. You just never know where a job search is going to come from. And so you want to use hashtags to highlight all that information. And then you want to look for trends and information as you do your company research to share during an interview. This is a great way for you to get prepared. And then make sure to look at the top 30 plus most popular hashtags that are listed in the guide, because there are millions of followers gathering helpful information from those particular hashtags, and you just never know what trends and patterns you may find that can help you during an interview to be, again, selected as the top candidate because of the information that you know about a company. So I hope you guys enjoy the LinkedIn hashtags complete guide for 2024 as your career tip for this week. Have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks, Rosina. As usual, I'll send this out to everybody that put their email address in the chat or logged in or signed the sign-in sheet here in the room, as well as a copy of this article. I'll send you the Zoom chat. So thank you, and best of luck with your son's procedure today.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Today we're headed to Country Burger for those in the room. And now it's time for our main event. What happened to my sure. Here we go. All right, Rick Gillis. Rick is a author, speaker, and trainer on the topics of fair pay and job search with over 20 years of experience in the career advancement field. He invented and published the QTNT, which is pronounced quotient, personal value calculation process, which he's going to talk about today. Rick's mission is to educate and empower professionals to achieve the proper pay for their best performance by teaching them how to professionally share their wins with management and leverage their QTNT scores. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Rick. Rick, we now have 6 in the room and it looks like 14 online, so you got an audience of about 20.
That's good. That's fine. I'm going to mute you guys in just a second, and I'll share screen. This presentation, this is all new material, and it came out of job search support. I'm going to explain some of that to you. By the way, QTNT is pronounced quotient. All I did is I took the vowels out of the word quotient. And do I see Aubrey there in the front row? We talked this week. Yes, I can see you there. Okay, I'm going to share screen now. And let's see, we want this one. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, I have to share. Click the button, right?
There we go.
Okay, now you got it. Okay, you got my cover page?
Yep.
Okay, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to grow this a little bit more. Let's see if I can get this a little bit larger. Yeah, cool. All right. All right. So anyway, so yes, thank you for the introduction. And I have to warn everybody, there's a lot of material in this, and I promise you, this is brand new stuff you've never heard from, but it came out of my job search experience, which I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. So let me turn on my clicker and I should be good to go. So I want to start off by telling you, I'm going to start off with what is the quotient. And the quotient is, and it is pronounced quotient, it's the personal value calculation process. So, and I'm going to be saying PVC, I'll always be saying quotient. I have one of my partners, he always calls it QTNT, and I'm trying to beat him around the head and shoulders about that. That is the formula right there. C divided by P equals Q, or quotient. I'm going to explain all this to you in a little while, and you're going to be astonished by how simple this is. The quotient is groundbreaking. This was a chief financial officer that I interviewed for my previous book that told me this is groundbreaking. No one has ever been able to determine the value of someone who earns a paycheck. I was not aware of that. Accounting 101 and 102 notwithstanding, I didn't realize you could not determine the value of somebody who earns a paycheck, which is why there are performance reviews. So that's why he told me this is groundbreaking, and I just said, wait a minute, can I quote you on that? And yeah, so anyway, I'm going to tell you about the evolution of the quotient, how this happened. Last week, I think the people that were here, I told you about my accomplishments inventory. The accomplishments inventory is when I take on a client, which candidly, and Matt and I were talking about this earlier, I'm so busy starting to grow this company, starting to build it. I mean, literally 3 of us right now. But my model for working with job search candidates, anybody would come to me and like you guys, and I know Walt, and I know you have spent an enormous amount of hours working for free. I have done that over the years because I've worked with people who were, they just didn't have the money to work with me. And so I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 20 odd years. But I have a model that I came up with, and that is, before you start, if you want to work with me, you have to create an accomplishments inventory. I want to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how behind each accomplishment, etc. Out of that, I will help you create an accomplishment statement. This is a professional document that goes with your resume, and it's submitted. From that comes what and wow. Out of each accomplishment, the statement that you write up, I will extract the what and wow. I'm going to show you this exact model as we go through. I keep looking at you guys over here. I know you're up there. I should go there to the camera. And then I extract the quotient personal value calculation. So now remember, there's no way to measure the value delivered by a paycheck worker, but a salesman's performance can be measured daily, literally hourly. And so with that said, I want to give you a little bit of my relevant bio, which is the same one I did for you last week. But this is why it's important: 100% commission sales, and I've been 100% salaried professional. So I've lived with my foot in both realms, and I really do genuinely understand what it takes to work both sides of that coin. I helped launch the first job board in Houston. I learned authentic job search, 10 years of calling on the hiring community. I advise countless people in search and advancement. I have never been in HR. I've never been in staffing. I just called on these people, and I made a lot of friends in the industry. But as a result, I have advised countless people in search and advancement. I'm the author of 8 books on job search and advancement. Most of them I don't make them available on my profile, because the following book knocked it out. So I don't sell my old stuff. I have 3 books now on Amazon. All of this led me to eventually invent the quotient and create the accomplishments mindset. Now, the accomplishments mindset is something that I really work with when I talk with anybody, public speaking, brand new graduates, professionals. I want people thinking accomplishments, and the accomplishments mindset truly is nothing more than a professional salesperson's point of view. And I think I'm repeating myself. I think I told you guys this last week, the same thing, because a salesperson, it can be Friday night, it can be Saturday, it can be Sunday. A salesman is always thinking about what they're going to do next, how they're going to get to a client, how they're going to make a connection, how they can close a deal. Whereas a person who is paid by salary can turn everything off on Friday afternoon at 5 and turn it back on at 9 o'clock Monday morning. And so the accomplishments mindset is nothing more than a professional salesperson's point of view. I would really like everybody listening to me to embrace this accomplishments mindset idea. And as we go forward, I think I'll help you get to this place. So let's talk about accomplishments. Accomplishments are the currency of your career. That is just one of my favorite personal quotes, and I'm going to carry that one. It might be another book title. It really is, though. Accomplishments are how you land your job, how you get advanced, how you get promotions. Accomplishments cause hiring, promotions, and pay raises to happen. And this is never about bragging. This is never about bragging. This is about informing others of your professional value. There's a distinct difference there, and it's okay to tell people. And you need to know, even as a salesman, you learn quickly when you're going over the line, you've gone too far in the sales pitch, whatever. You have to know when you hit that wall and pull back. But informing others of your professional value, that's where this accomplishments, that's the end result of this, of gathering up this accomplishments mindset. So true or false? And if we were in a live environment, I would ask the room this, but I'll just answer them myself since it's just me here. It's your company's right to benefit from your work. That's absolutely true. Your company has gone through through the fire to build an organization, as many of you working for yourself would understand. So yes, that's absolutely true. Your company has no obligation to point out your achievements. That is absolutely positively true. It doesn't mean they don't do it. It doesn't mean there aren't bonuses that happen all the time and spot payments and all kinds of things that happen. But your company effectively has no obligations to point out your achievements. And the last one is employees recognize the value of their work. And this is the one I really want to focus on a little bit, because I don't think enough people really, truly, and I'm going to take you through the model here, recognize the value of your work and how you fit into all the other parts that are in play when you get into an organization. And I say this as a result of working with so many clients over the years, because I've asked these questions and I could always find, they could tell me an accomplishment, but I would ask them how they knew to do that, and it would turn out there was another accomplishment that preceded that one. So quite often while you're doing what you're doing, you're not paying attention to those accomplishments you're creating along the way. That may sound rather kind of woohoo right now, but it really fits into this whole model. I really attribute a lack of engagement to this, and I don't think it's so much senior management or senior employees, those who've been around for a long time, but particularly young and mid-level employees. If they're not really engaged, if they have other things going on, or if they're looking for another job or something. But if you can increase this lack of engagement, I think that's good for everybody, because how much money does this lack of engagement cost business? That's not measurable. It's absolutely not measurable. But the quotient addresses this issue. I want to talk to you about my non-negotiable accomplishments inventory. And I think I already as well told you guys some of this last week. When I work with a client, they come to me and the first thing I tell them is you're going to have to put together a list of your personal best accomplishments. It's not negotiable. If you don't want to do this, I won't work with you. And I will let me just jump to a punchline right now. The reason I am that way about this thing is because, number one, out of this document, we build a resume, we build a profile. But more importantly, when you're done with this process, you are ready to interview. You are buff. You are stainless steel. You're ready to go to work. This is where I require people to give me, and looking at your group, and once again, I'm looking over at you guys here, where I'm over here, and I know the camera's right there. When I work with a group of people and I ask them to give me 8 to 10 accomplishments, is what I would probably do with the caliber of the people I'm working with. Aubrey, I'd let you get away with 5 or 6. We already talked about this. It depends on experience. That's how I base all this. But professionals who have 8 to 10 years experience or more, I usually expect 8 to 10 accomplishments. I want to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how, plus any dollars made. I require this in writing. I've had people hand me whole sheets of paper. I've had them type out. I had one person, matter of fact, a professional in Dallas, C-suite, that he was able to knock out this whole who, what, where, when, why, and how in 3 paragraphs. He was such a good writer. He was so concise. It was remarkable. But most people take a whole page and write the stuff out. And it's not an English class. It's just, I want you to write everything out. So after you have written out who, what, where, when, why, and how, plus the dollars, I will then look at what you've written and I will extract what I call the what and the wow. That is the what and the dollars made or the dollars saved. And this is really important because when you can go in and tell somebody the what and wow, and I'm going to be sharing one of my personal accomplishments with you later. But let me give you the punchline right now. My responsible for what that resulted in wow, and that's where I put those bullet points on the accomplishments statement, not the accomplishments inventory, but out of all this, we create an accomplishment statement that goes with your resume, that knocks the powers that be, the people who are interviewing with you, the hiring manager, knocks them back in their seat, because it's nothing but how you're going to make or save somebody money. And that is how you find a job, categorically. So one of my personal bests was responsible for creating a commercial lease document that saved my company $2.5 million. If I was interviewing for a real estate job and I told somebody that, they'd say, wow, how did you do that? That gives me permission to talk. That'll give me 8, 6, 7, 8 minutes that I can tell the story. It won't take me that long, but that's when you create a dialogue, and that's when you bust the clock, because every interview, there's a clock somewhere. The manager is watching clock on their computer screen, on the wall behind you, but they planned 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever for this interview. You want to destroy that clock. The other 3 people waiting in the lobby they're going to follow you, you want to destroy their day. I'm telling you, that's how you interview. What causes tell me more to happen? So I'd like to recommend that everybody today get in the habit of writing your accomplishments down in real time. And what I've been doing for years myself is I spend that time, those time slots from about 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. plus on my calendar, and I just make a few notes. Don't write all the details. You'll remember this stuff, but if you just write down a few notes periodically, continuingly, that's not a good word, on a continuing basis, you can go back and review this stuff, and you can write these things out, and you can write these accomplishments. And by the way, all this information I'm telling you is in the new book. Your work does not speak for itself, but anyway, here we go. So now that you know how to determine your wow, which is what all of that was about, let's talk about the quotient personal value calculation process. Now, this process is an employee managed program for tracking individual accomplishments over and above what is required of one per their job description. That's kind of a legalish definition, but the reason I point this out is because you're already getting bonus at work, and I'm not suggesting bonuses get changed, pay rates, nothing else. But here's the thing, and Walt, I'll bet you, in your experience, because I know this has happened to me over and over and over again, when I'm working with somebody, especially when you're working in an interview with an interview professional, and you start asking questions, and then you come up with something and you find out this person did something they weren't even aware of having done. Would you agree with me, Walt? I can see you up and down or no. Because it's not hard when you start asking questions. When somebody goes, oh yeah, well, I was able to do, well, wait a minute. Don't you realize that's an accomplishment of its own? That's another freestanding accomplishment. You designed the process, or you developed the process that led you to be able to do X. And I see that all the time. And I want people thinking about those things. It's not just the punchline, it's the whole joke. Tell the whole story. Over and above is the key right here. Over and above is what the quotient applies to for those things that people do over and above what is required of their job description. And once again, I see this happen all the time, and people just do it and they carry on with their day. They carry on with their work, which is okay, except you maybe miss an opportunity. So the quotient benefits both the organization and the employee. Okay, you already know there has never been a way to quantify the value of a paycheck worker until right now. Until now that you've never heard this before, so here we go. This is the quotient formula. C divided by P equals quotient score. And guys, this is I'm not a mathematician. I don't even know how to spell algebra. This is arithmetic, which is woohoo, good for me. So C stands for the contributions you produce, you develop, you offer, you generate for your organization over and above what you're required to be doing. And it's not hard if you start tracking this stuff. Contribution is defined as work performed over and above what is required of you. That is divided by your base pay. Now, I want you to note that pay burden is not included in quotient calculations. If your base pay is $56,000, that's what you use. It has nothing to do with take home, has nothing to do with all the costs of feed and carrying of employees, maintenance, equipment, benefits, etc. It's base pay only. And that equals the quotient. That is the entire model right there. And I need to tell you, how this came to be, when I was working with clients, I would put them through this process. And since I would ask for them to give me values of all these things they had delivered. And then I just started dividing it by their base pay. That's all it was. That's it. That is the quotient. And I'll show you how all this works. So here's a sample year-end performance calculation. My annual base pay this year is $35,000. This year, I had a pretty good year. I delivered $200,000 over and above what I was expected to generate. I needed to make $35,000 at minimum just to keep my job. I need to generate that much value, but I generated 200,000. That's because I've been tracking this stuff. I'm tracking it. I'm writing it down in my notes. And later on, as I see the values come back to the company, or I ask somebody, I total this stuff up. And that's where there's a lot in the book about how to determine the value of the things you do. So using the formula, I take that $200,000, I divide it by my base pay, and that comes up with a quotient of 5.71. And I always round up or I round down. So I call that a quotient of 6, meaning I delivered 6 times my base pay this year to my organization. Maybe that's really good. But what about the value of my day job? See, because while I'm doing this over and above stuff, I'm still doing my day work. I'm doing my regular responsibilities all the time. So what you do with that is you take the
Hey,
quotient.
Rick,
Yes.
before you dive into that, on the previous slide, if I'm not in sales, just in a nutshell, I know it's in the book, how do you quantify your value?
You know
If you're
what,
not-
Matt? Let me get to the end.
Okay.
Let me get to the end, because I'm not talking about sales. I'm talking about anybody here. Let me tell you what, Matt, that's a good question. It's a fair question. I don't think I ever have worked with a salesperson in job search. They don't need my help. They know how to sell themselves. They know how to sell. I'm serious. I have talked with a lot of salespeople and I've run with a lot of salespeople, but I have never counseled a salesperson in job search. So this really isn't, and that's a good point, because I don't make that point anywhere in the book. So you just hurt my feelings, Matt. You just hurt my feelings. It's not in the book. This really is not meant for salespeople. Salespeople don't need my help, although they can use this to measure it. So let me keep going, and I think you'll just absorb the whole thing right now.
No problem.
So anyways, okay, so I had a quotient of 6. This means I delivered 6 times my base pay this year, but you still have to consider the value of my day job. See, I'm still managing, I'm still maintaining, I'm still leasing, I'm still showing, I'm still doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing during the day. So to that, you add a +1, and that takes your base pay into account. I did not include that well, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So my quotient was 5.71. I add a +1, it's a 6.71, or a quotient of 7. Now that +1, I did not develop it absolutely rock hard into the formula, because you will not always add a +1, depending if it's a contract or an hourly or something like that. But all that is, once again, is covered in the book. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, slicing and dicing. But is contribution 7 times my base pay worthy of a bonus? Well, maybe. Maybe my job requires me to deliver 7 times my base pay before I even see a bonus. Or maybe I am required to deliver 3 times, so which means I would be bonused on a quotient of 4 or something like that. So there's some moving parts right there. But this is a way of measuring the value you deliver to your organization. And it's a hard number that can actually be, well, it can be made very hard. The quotient mindset is you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to give you a story right now. This is a snapshot of what the quotient looks like if you're thinking about it. And this is a story perfectly of what I have seen people over the years, and I just created this illustration. But this is the kind of stuff I have seen over the years, over and over and over, when I would ask somebody, how did you know how to do that? But here's what people miss. You saved yourself and 5 coworkers an hour of work a day. So that means 6 workers times 1 hour, there's 6 hours saved or repurposed for the company daily. Now, your best practice is shared across 10 offices. So those 10 offices, now we have 60 hours saved or repurposed. The company gets additional value, new value from those 60 hours. Now, the average pay, let's say it's just $15 per hour, and 60 hours saved times 5 days times $15 an hour, that's $4,500. But when you multiply that out times 52 weeks, that's an annual savings to the company of $234,000. That's what people don't think about. When you start working this stuff out and you go, wait a minute, what if I got a 1% of this thing? What if I got a 2,340 bonus for having done that, or a 10%? But this is the kind of stuff that I point out that I see people doing all the time. But it's just like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad I saved my 6 workers an hour. I'm really glad. That's cool. Not a big deal. But when you start measuring these numbers and multiplying them out, all of a sudden it does matter. Now, there's 3 types of quotients, and there's 2 designations I want to share with you. Number 1 is a Q = 1, means an individual is earning their pay. A Q greater than 1, an employee is creating value for the company. And a Q less than 1 is an unproductive person who's not going to be there very long. There's a quotient weighted. Weighting applies to projected production. So in other words, I might be weighted a Q10 because I'm expected to deliver 10 times my base pay in terms of production to the company. But I would talk about it as a Q1, talk among others. Nobody needs to know I'm weighted Q10. I don't need to know somebody's weighted a Q6 that I'm co-working with or whatever. So there's a weighting aspect to this thing. And then there's a quotient exempt. And I can think of a really good example of this is the CEO's executive administrative assistant who's making 120,000 a year when the other admin assistants are making 40, 50, 60, maybe 70,000 a year because that person has incredible knowledge and history and experience. And so that's the kind of thing where you take it out to the compensation committee. Employers will be pleased to know this quotient has no impact on pay rates and the quotient has no impact on employee promotion. It doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means it's not meant to do that. This is meant to be for that over and above achievement. So you may wonder why not promotion? Well, you could easily, but I have talked with people, and it's not so much worked with people, but I have talked with groups before where people would tell me about that one time they did something outrageously cool and they never did anything else particularly outrageous again, really good for the company. And so you don't want to go and promote somebody based on one idea they had and find out that you've promoted them too soon or that they'll never have any more impact. So it's just, kind of anecdotal. Bonuses and commissions must be paid for the quotient program to work. Now here I'm coming to the big punchline, guys. This is really the biggie. Dollars are paid only on new, unplanned, unexpected, unanticipated revenue or savings, meaning dollars made or dollars saved. And what this means is the quotient is self-funding. The quotient funds itself because it only pays out of new revenue saved or made, period. It's money saved or money created. So the quotient funds itself. Talking about commissions, I suggest we actually start commissioning paycheck workers who have grand ideas, who do something outside of their realm, but something for the good of the company. The quotient by design encourages a payment of a monthly commission to a paycheck worker. So a paycheck worker is my definition, or definition is somebody who has an hourly or salaried paycheck versus somebody who's commissioned for an extraordinarily larger continuing return. And once again, when I tell you my story in a little bit, one of my personal best accomplishments, you'll see how I came to come to this idea. Paycheck workers are eligible for bonuses and commissions. Sales staff are eligible for bonuses always, except they may come up with an idea. It's not unusual for a salesperson to say, hey, boss, I had an idea. If we moved the inventory this way, if we shifted things around, we could get things delivered quicker. And that's money. Time is always money. So yeah, they could be bonus to an additional commission and as well as their sales, what they're expected to do in their sales. Okay, it's time for my Texas sheriff story. Many years ago, before I moved to Houston, I used to manage an office park in El Paso, which is where I'm from. And I walked in the office one morning and there's a sheriff standing there and it's like, whoa, what's this? And the lady who ran the office, she's standing behind him behind her desk and she's looking at me with her really big eyes. So I walked in and he goes, Richard Gillis. And I don't like being called by my given name. And he goes, I said, yeah. And he hands me an envelope and he says, you've been served. And he walks out the door. I had just been sued by a real estate broker who said I owed him a commission on a lease I had just finished up and remodeled and built out like that week. I used to manage an office park in El Paso. I had 14 buildings on 20 acres of property. I was one of 26 office parks my company owned across the nation. So I went and called my boss and he said, do you want the attorneys? And I'd tell you that line because it's really important to the story, but it stuck with me because I was like, wait a minute, I haven't even told you the problem. And you're already saying, do you want the attorneys? So anyways, I said, no, let me look into this and I'll call you back. So I went back to the original lease that my predecessor had created. And I started flipping through pages and sure enough, on page 12, 16, 17, I found a note there that said, a handwritten note, tiny little note that said, realtor will be paid on all lease renewals. I had missed that. So this broker was right. He was due $8,000. I called my boss back. I got an $8,000 check the following week. I took it to the realtor. I paid him. I apologized. I went back to the office and I told Gay, the lady who ran the front office, I said, you and I are going to go through every lease. We had 185 leases. And we spent 5 days, she and I, both of us, going through every single lease, and we put a cover sheet on top of it that I called my commercial lease abstract, annotating any changes made, whatever, so this would never, ever happen again. About 3 months later, my boss comes to town and he's just randomly looking through one of my leases, and he opens one up and he looks at the cover sheet and he goes, "What is this?" And I told him what I had done. And he took it back to corporate, and then corporate embraced it, and they took it out nationally. And so I had 25 general managers upset with me that they had to go through all their leases. But the bottom line is, a year later, my boss comes back to me and he says, "Rick, I called it my commercial lease document cover sheet." He says, "Rick, your idea saved us $2.5 million. I saved the company $2.5 million in year one. This was a result of me just doing the right thing. I saw a problem. I addressed the issue. I took care of it. I wasn't asking for anything. I just needed to do the right thing. I was upset with myself, candidly, that I had made this mistake. And it turned out that I saved the company $2.5 million, meaning I solved a local problem, not knowing it was a national problem. And I'm going to tell you, once again, anybody listening to this right now, even if it's in a recording, pay attention to what you do, because people do this kind of stuff all the time. I was not aware of what I had done. That's really the big deal now. So I saved the company $2.5 million. At the time, my salary, annual salary, like I said, this 30 years ago, was $56,000. If I use the quotient formula, that 2.5 million divided by 56,000 equals 44.64. I had a +1 because I was still maintaining the property, leasing, selling, doing roofs, parking lots, bathrooms, everything, security. So my quotient was a 46. That means I delivered 46 times more than I was being paid in value to my organization for that previous year. This is the kind of stuff, people, that I'm going to tell you right now. You have done this before. If you will think about it, if you will pay attention, if you'll start going through that accomplishments inventory that I require clients to put together for me, and that accomplishments inventory requires them to ask family, call friends, co-workers, former supervisors, vendors, customers, friends. I mean, your drinking buddies, your people you go work out with. Ask them all. When you and I have worked together, as long as we've known each other, do you remember any times that I happened to mention something I did really cool at work? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, out of every 10 people you ask, 9 aren't going to have a clue. No, not really. I'll think about it. But the fact is, one person's going to come up and say, "Yeah, Rick, don't you remember that time when we did?" Yes, I do. And then that's usually enough right there that you can write the story: who, what, where, when, why, and how, plus the dollars made or saved. And you may not have an historical that you can go back and extract those numbers, but you can ballpark it, and you can, as long as you ballpark it, don't go overboard. If you said you saved the company, well, $2.5 million, you damn well better be able to tell the story and prove it. But if you say you saved the company $30,000 or $15,000, all those things add up. They matter. So how would I share this accomplishment? Here is my model. I was responsible for creating a commercial lease cover sheet, resulting in saving my company $2.5 million. That is the what? Commercial lease cover sheet. Wow is the $2.5 million. That's that simple. And by the way, I was in parentheses, because when you're saying it, you say I was responsible. When you write it down in bullet points on my accomplishment statement form, the way I do it, you don't say I was, you just say responsible for, next bullet, responsible for. This stuff is gold when you walk into an interview and you hand somebody this list, because I'm going to tell you right now, and I said this last week, how you find a job is expressed how you're going to make money or you're going to save money. That's it. And by giving somebody this list of accomplishments that state how you have made money and saved money previously, you're going to set them back in their seat. They're going to lean back and they're going to go, "Whoa, tell me about this third one. Well, what is that one about? Da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, well, I was doing X." So bonus or commission, here's the thing. If that $2.5 million, had I been bonused 1%, I could have got possibly a $25,000 bonus. The fact is, I wasn't bonused on this accomplishment. I was really proud of this accomplishment. It's 30 years ago. I can still talk the story line by line, and I have 2 people that could back this whole up for me. But the fact is, I was a company guy. I was happy as hell to get my 3% commission, and my 3% bonus and my 3% raise. The fact is, I should have stood up and said, I need a bonus for that. And a 1% would have been 25,000. And at the time I was making 56, 25,000 would have been killer. But I also could have maybe got a larger, and I'd say, just put it into my annual salary over the next 3 years as a commission. the company netted 2 million. If this is the case, the company would net $2,475,000. That's unanticipated savings. That's unplanned money. I was telling you, the quotient is self-funding. This comes out of savings or it comes out of gain, revenue. So, you know, there's the punchline, guys. It's people no one can imagine who do the things no one can imagine. And that is my presentation. And that is your work does not speak for itself, is the how-to. It's the owner's manual for how to develop and to handle the quotient for yourself. That's what this book is about. Matter of fact, you can see leveling the playing field behind me. That's that was the book before where I talk about pay parity and bringing people in. I'm a big proponent of fair pay and correct pay. This book takes, if you 2 hours at the most, you can probably read the whole thing in an hour. It is a tiny little book by design. And now and if anybody wants it, you can, there's my QR code. You can get a copy. Any questions? I am wide open, and Matt, go for it.
You actually answered my question, which was, how do you value your accomplishments if you're not in sales? Because in sales, it's easy, right?
Sales. That's why I said I don't even talk to salespeople. Right.
Just a few slides later, you provided a great example of, you know, saving time across the company. So that was the answer I was looking for, is, you know, how do you value it? And you did some process improvement and saved, you know, so many people, so many hours per day across the company and added it up. Perfect example. And I think that works for just about anything. Sales easy, process improvement pretty easy. I'm trying to think of another. I'll just throw it out to the group. Does anyone have something else that they did that they would have a hard time quantifying that we might ask Rick to help us quantify?
Yeah, I have a question.
Patty, go
So
ahead.
with one of my accomplishments, I had helped to save time with having a particular key code where people could produce and process the databases quicker and so forth. And but it was done by offshore work. So I don't know how much you would say this offshore person makes X amount of money, where I could say it equated to 250 hours of time savings to know what to put in for, say, offshore folks.
Patty, I'll tell you what, that's really not that hard. What you could do, you know, there are all kinds of all sorts of places you can find pay rates for different jobs. I would go out and I would not look at the highest. I would not look at the lowest. I would choose the middle. But you would need to know approximately how many workers were out there and approximately how many hours were applied, so that you can multiply those two together and then multiply that times $12 times $70 times $350, whatever it is. And listen, here's the main thing. And you know, Patty, that's a great question, because it brings me up to something that's critically important. I need to actually put that back into this presentation. Anything you say has to be defensible. If you cannot defend it, you should not say it. Period. It's just that simple. So if somebody said, wait a minute, you're saying that you saved $3,700,000. How did you come up with that number? Well, there were 227 workers. They were out there for 37 days. That was times 11 hours, times $40 an hour, whatever. And you go, okay, done. And you know, because once you lose your credibility, when you cannot defend, the conversation's over.
Right.
I always say err on the side of being conservative. You know, it's because your boss, you could say, well, I think I saved about $3,700,000. Well, and the boss is going, you know what, in my head, I'm sitting here going, man, I think she saved closer to $500,000. I mean, yeah, or 5 million or something, you know, so
be conservative, right?
Err conservative. Yeah. Now, if you have hard numbers, if you can access numbers, all the better, and validate. You know, one of the things I talk about in the book is you have to be prepared to stress test, validate, and defend your accomplishments. If you can't do that, you shouldn't offer it.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. But, you know, like I said, and Walt, I'd really like your input here. I know you have had these situations where you have been speaking with somebody and you came up with another accomplishment they weren't aware of. Because I'll tell you what, that's, you know what, I want to get on my soapbox here for a minute. Walt, I genuinely appreciate what you do, because I'm going to tell you guys, anybody that's in the room, interviewing is the hardest part of job search. It's like, well, I won't even tell you what it's like, but interviewing is the hardest thing there is. Because it'd be inappropriate to say it. If there's a bunch of guys, I'd say it right now. But the fact is, interviewing is tough. You've got to be nimble. You got to be thinking on your feet. You don't know what to expect. And that is what it's meant to be. It's meant to be difficult, and it's meant to put you under fire, stress test. So Walt, the fact that you work this thing, I consider the resume, this accomplishments thing is not hard. It's pretty trackable. You can find all this stuff. It's how you make it pretty and present it so somebody will actually read it. But after that, when you get to the interview, you are totally on your own, and I wish you the best. So Walt left. He left me. Where did he go?
And Rick, I was
There
going to
he
ask.
is.
Go ahead.
Unmute.
My computer.
Unmute.
So-
Walt, can you unmute?
I think I could hear him.
Okay, I hear you. I'm not going anywhere. I'll let a dog out right here.
This computer, we don't want the sound to go through this computer to create feedback, so. As long as you can hear me, so. I believe you're right on target, because one of the challenges we face is really determining the value we bring. And what I see most often is we undervalue ourselves. Example, you talk to a project manager and they think that their value is completing a project, right? And I'm going to oversimplify a little bit. Well, but what did the project do? What was the purpose of the project? How did that help? What did it mean? And so I can ask a few questions and say, all right, so if you improved a process, how did that affect? A lot of jobs do not think about profit and loss. They're not P&L oriented. They're not money oriented in their mindset. One of the smartest decisions I ever made was I decided to go into information technology through being exposed to a computer when I was in a summer job. But I wanted to use it for business. And so my math degree was only going to help for Excel purposes. But what I really needed to do was understand business. So I got an MBA just so that I could understand business and then how to use the IT side of it to enable that business to be more effective, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at something, sometimes if it's a customer success story, you help a customer and they say, well, what did the customer say? What did your boss say? What did the company? What happened to that? Oh, well, we used them and they were responsible for 3 more sales. Okay, well, how much were those sales? We haven't kept track of that over time. And we have to start keeping track of it now. But if you just stop and ask yourself, what is the impact? Look longer than the end of the table. Look out at the corporate aspect of it. What could that possibly mean? What does it do? And then you use your calculation. Say, okay, I saved 3 hours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I come out, I had average salary, number down, et cetera, et cetera, plus 25% benefits. So you can do all that and come up with a number, and you can defend it. You can defend it very easily and very well. But yes, undervalue is one of our weaknesses. And we go back and look at our accomplishments. We start from ground zero, and then we have a hard time thinking of what we did, particularly if been working 30 years plus. So what'd you do? What'd you accomplish 25 years ago? Well, I can remember buying a bicycle by getting a job, 2 jobs in the 7th grade. And that's something about my character, my stuff. And so what does that story really mean? It really means that I set a goal, had an objective, I did this, here's what this, here's what the money was, here's how I, all that can come through very, very simply if we give it some time to really think about it. And I love your presentation because it's given an idea of here's what I did and here's what the result of what I did. So that's the I do and I help part of the I am, I do, I help model. So we're right on track.
You
We have
know,
a question.
I still live with the line, as a result of my skills, experience, and education, I am capable of. You guys finish the sentence. As a result of my skills, experience, and education, I am capable of. You know, I go nuts when I have gone to job search, and I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of job search events over the years. And they go through and they give the microphone to everybody and they say, okay, 30-second introductions. There's always 3 or 4 clowns that go out for 7 minutes and you're ready to just shoot yourself. As a result of my skills, experience, and education, I am capable of. My name is Rick Gillis. I hope that helps. And the man with the microphone, say what's on your mind. What's your name?
Okay, I have two questions. One, I do appreciate the presentation. Most of my career happened in the aughts and teens, and when we were being offshore, this was exactly how we got jobs and competed. So the good part is I've always been thinking about my accomplishments. What did I save? Because that was going to be used in my next job search. But when you talk about accomplishments today, I have two types of accomplishments. One I call negative accomplishments. I used to do freight claims for about 7 years.
You used to do what?
Freight claims.
Freight
So
claims.
when
Okay.
over and destroys all the product, I get involved. You do not want me involved in any of your transactions. I was that guy. In one way, I have one job where I could actually add up all the claims that I was able to collect and show that I collected $300,000 a year against a salary of $37,000. So I have done this. But then there were also accomplishments that I find are harder to quantify. One of which we had a freight claim with a brokerage firm that I work for. A $3.7 million client was about to leave the brokerage firm because of a freight claim that really wasn't anybody's fault. It just was bad timing. And through my negotiations, I saved that client. I kept that client from going to another brokerage firm and taking that business with them. I can't really say that I saved 3.7 million. I saved the account. The other type of accomplishments that I have a lot of in my resume is things like when I worked for a major trucking company as a night manager, working with the driver. For one example, I had one driver came in, he was supposed to pick up his load. His truck was still in Louisiana and we're in Dallas. And I was able to find a truck from another account and get that load out. Well, that didn't really directly result in money. What it did was it kept our accuracy rate, our 90% on-time delivery rate, which affected negotiations at the end of the year. And those are kind of what I call soft accomplishments. I kind of have a hard time deciding how to actually tell somebody that story because I don't have the hard dollars on those type of situations.
No, I'll tell you what. What's your name? What's your name?
Marshall.
Marshall?
Mhm.
Okay, Marshall, I don't agree. And once again, this comes from I've put a lot of people through this process over the years, again and again and again. And invariably, if we were to talk, he just went away. Where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he? There he is. No, but Marshall, if I was to have you across from my desk, we would work this thing through. And I'm going to tell you right now, every bit of that did have revenue. And yes, you can claim a share. And there's also nothing wrong with saying, as a result of my efforts, I was able to save a client or save a customer or save something. That can be a zero punchline. But the fact that you saved a $3.7 million account, you don't have to go and slice and dice that one up. You really don't. So, and you can say, I'm not saying it was me, the vice president got involved and all the guys on the floor and on the road got, but yes, you can. And so if I was working with you, I always, when I'm compiling an accomplishment inventory list with somebody, I always put those really shiny ones at the top, but that one you just told me about saving the account, I would put that in the middle to the bottom. And because it can come up, and especially if somebody's reading through and going, wow, we recently lost an account. How did you do that? Now you got the permission to tell the story. So really, every one of these is about creating a dialogue. You want somebody to say, wow, how did you do that? And so they may not say, wow, just say, how did you do that? That, interviewing, the hardest part is that dialogue, getting that back and forth going. And that's what this document's designed to do, your accomplishments inventory. So I appreciate what you said. Thank you.
Dollarizing proposals for lines of business. So I got approached by the VP when we first got acquired in one role. And in responding back to how can we make more service revenue, I came up with 3 different things that we weren't doing that were untapped revenue. I know about what the dollar amount is for a resident engineer. That was one of the programs we didn't have. And I know about what the margin would be for that. So the total amount of revenue that would have gone into it. Another was a monitoring service. I have no idea how to dollarize what that would have been. And a third, they didn't actually introduce that one right away. I was no longer with the company, but I keep track of what they did. That became the basis of a whole new line of business. and they built other products around it, but it's the gateway audit service that goes into security tools.
Wait a second, Mike. That third one you said that you couldn't value, that out of that they extracted a new business?
They formed that as the key network audit function, security audit function, and that became something else later on.
Dude, if you were working with me, we would have these down. I'd make you see, once again, I would make you write it out: who, what, where, when, why, and how. After which I look at and I pull the what and the wow out. The rest of it, it's here's the thing. Like I told you guys earlier, when you've written all these out, who, what, where, when, why, and how, plus dollars made or saved, even if you don't have an answer for every piece of it, you're prepped for the interview. You're prepped for somebody to ask you, wait a minute, how did that work? What did you do there? It's top of mind. You don't have to, you know, the worst thing in an interview is when you're sitting there and they ask you a question and you go, "That's not cool, not cool." But when you can never break eye contact and say, I was just part of this, they created a new business, it was a spinoff, can I tell you more about that? Wow, that's a win.
Yeah, that was another business we got into was network function virtualization. I could see pretty early on in talking with the product manager, I kept driving, we need to have a security focus on this. We need to start developing an audit tool now. It wasn't receptive at that point. It was just way too early in the process to think about it. So when this popped up as a question of what were we going to do? Well, this is an untapped area where you have products that do function similar to this, but aren't one line of business right now. They're just add-ons to other products. So that's where it popped up.
Mike, does your resume reflect any of this stuff that you're sharing?
Just the three in general. I know it would have been about $1 million for that first year. And again, not counting what any.
Yeah, but not even talking about the valuation. Are these stories you're telling me somewhere in your resume that you submit?
Yes, one line item.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
in the Army, when I got out, the first thing they tell you at least when I was getting out, years and years ago, it's like 95. Find a way to dollarize everything, because business is always looking for metrics, numbers. And, you know, my first boss was doing something I didn't know to do, which was, you know, what is the rate that we're having problems with, that we're responding to things that we're preventing. And so I saw a project that needed to get done. He said, me proactively going after that reduce the number of cases that were coming into the team. This is for air traffic that they've reported a problem with. They reduced it by 35%. And that was about 6 months worth of effort. And that got turned into a formal thing that we kept doing.
You know what? I hope I got the rest of you all that are still here with us today thinking like this, like Mike's talking about. I hope I got you guys thinking, because accomplishments, like I said, show me how you're going to make me money or save you money, and I'll hire you every time. You can't afford to let somebody go who's not going to make you money or save money.
Walt's on the move.
I think I saw that. He disappeared. He's had enough.
Yeah, when I disappear, I'm disappearing from one to the other. There's another thing that we can also count, I think, in our evaluation. I'd like your thoughts on it, Rick. If I save time, so go back to the 1 hour a week thing. Right, so that saved that particular project X amount of dollars, right? But it also added value for us doing something else instead of those hours, which is saying, okay, not only that, but the work that we're now doing that we weren't doing is producing this. So you get that money in your valuation too, am I right?
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you can defend it, it counts. And when I say defend it, that means talking with somebody who's an equivalent or a senior supervisor to your position that would understand it, you know? So yeah, it all counts. It all counts.
There's another aspect of this, it's called the opportunity cost, which is, you know, is a P&L term, and in costing, it says, by doing this, we didn't spend this amount of money. Okay, which is kind of like we're talking about, but there are things that happen that say, okay, I prevented something from happening. By having that truckload go out on time, on schedule, I prevented a loss, I prevented an unhappy customer, I prevented this. So not only did you keep things rolling, but you also saved stuff from not rolling. And what was the cost if it had not happened? Something like that.
Yeah, see, Walt, you're twice as smart as me. I wouldn't even go there. No, I'm going to keep mine simple because I do agree with the opportunity cost aspect, but I don't want this to go other directions. Yeah, you're far too educated for me, sir.
And that's not a very good cop out, Mike. But I understand what you're saying, and I like simplicity. So if we can do stuff with simple stuff, we don't need to do complex stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I do my best to keep it simple. Anybody else thoughts? Anything?
Rick, I was going to ask you what the QTNT is for the current CEO of Boeing.
I wouldn't even calculate that one. I wouldn't even calculate. By the way, it's not QTNT, it's quotient.
Or quotient, I
It's
should
spelled,
say.
it's pronounced quotient. Yeah, and I put that all over the book too. And I still have one of my partners, he keeps saying the QTNT, and I'm like, Pete, it's quotient. I just took the vowels out. It's the quotient. It's, it's just the division. It's just the answer to the division problem. It's the quotient. But yeah, Boeing, I wouldn't touch that.
He got
Let's
a nice
just say
golden
it's a
parachute
large
too, by the
negative
way.
number.
Large negative number. There you go. Yeah, there's got to be some sweeping changes in there. That's scary. I mean, every time you get on board a flight, and I don't fly very often. My wife flies just about every other week or so and scares the shit out of me. Excuse me, I didn't say that, but it does. It scares the heck out of me. It's very concerning, and being that there's only one player in the industry now, just doesn't get it. We're gonna start buying from Europe, and we don't want to do that. That ain't gonna happen. But anyway, any other questions, people? Suggestions, ideas?
Nope.
I think it also helps to know what the state was beforehand, what the pain was before it started. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
there's a metric, being able to get all the metrics.
Well, if you didn't
Start.
know that, you couldn't even solve for quotient. You wouldn't even be aware to look at it. So yeah, history and experience. Yeah, Mike, I appreciate your input. How long ago did you get out of the Army?
I was 95. Yeah, it was
95. Okay. I was in
really
75. I got out of the Air Force. So, dude, you're a puppy.
hey. Y'all paved the way, so and I will never say anything negative about the Air Force. I appreciate y'all in ways you can't imagine. So thank you.
Yep. That's a great comment, Mike. You got to know the baseline.
Gotta
And
know the
that's-
basics. Yes.
That,
But that's not hard, you should
No,
be
it's
able to
not.
know that stuff pretty easily. If you're in your industry, you've got some experience, some history, you should know baselines, or it shouldn't be that hard to find. Yes,
So
Walt.
just to add that, anything we do going forward, measure now so that you can measure later. You got to start measuring now so you can determine what it is later. So every project, every task, whatever's going on, what does it look like today so that you can then have these stories for the future?
You know what, Walt? Thank you for that. In the book, I talk about taking that space at the end of your day on your calendar, that 6 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. overnight, and make notes. I've been doing this for years. It's dead space on my calendar, but I look at it every single day. And periodically, I just go back a few weeks, a few months, and I just start scrolling through, and I see those notes I've made earlier. And I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot all about that one. So, by the way, accomplishments don't happen in a day, guys. They can happen over 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years, 10 years. So making these notes, and like I said, one of the things that I have in the book that I'm really strong about is you have to be able to stress test your accomplishment, validate, and defend it. Or I should say validate, stress, and then present. Because if you get in front of a supervisor and you're maintaining you have an accomplishment you're proud of and you can't speak to the details, you shot yourself in the foot. You'll never get another shot at it, period. So you've got to be prepared to stress test it. And you should stress test it yourself and ask those questions like Walt, you were talking about opportunity costs and stuff. If you want to go that direction, sure, why not? If that's what your boss thinks, think about it. I wouldn't have even thought about that. And I'm not going to add a chapter to the book.
Question on recurrence. So you saved $2.5 million, this company, for your cover sheet. Is that every year? And do you get to double or triple account?
Well, you know what, Matt? I actually mentioned it in the book. I didn't tell you because I was with the company for another 6 years. And yes, they were gaining that value every 6 years. So technically, if I wanted to be really pie in the sky, I could say 2.5 million times 6. Once I leave the corporation, I can no longer claim it. But yes, I could do that. But just the thing is, especially at the time, like I said, making $56,000 and to save 2.5 million, that was a huge win all by itself. But yes, there was a continuing value. Like I said, I do mention it in the book. They continued to receive that benefit for 6 more years. And after I left, I was astonished that there was no backup for this document because now it's built in all the softwares. These things that show any anomalies to a standard traditional lease, it's all built into the software. You're supposed to identify them right there as they're written up. Of course, it's all done online. In those days, I'm not joking. When I left real estate, we were just starting to get our first computers. We had just taken fax from tear off the wax paper to sheet fed. Remember those? Anybody old enough to remember faxes that were on a roll of that paper that would disappear inside of 3 or 4 days? So that's how long ago I did this. But the value stands, the story stands. So I would have no problem sharing that story if I was in a real estate interview. No, and I haven't been in real estate in 30 years, but it still counts.
All right. Any other questions?
All right, guys. And if you don't mind, I'm going to check out. I think my wife has things. She's off today, so I think I have honeydews to be getting started on.
Rick, it was a pleasure. Thank you again.
You bet.
Very, very insightful and very relevant to us job seekers.
Thanks. And
Is there anything we can do for you?
No, I'll tell you what, just tell people about the book. I would love that. It's brand new. I just put it out there March 11th and I self-published it. It's on Amazon. Rick at rickgillis.com if anybody wants to drop me an email. I am still here to help you in your job search if you think I can be of service. I'm happy to help. Just mention that you're part of Jeff's group, North Dallas, Plano. I give Jeff my very best.
Will do. And do you mind if I share your presentation with the group?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay. If you send it to me at matt@keelan.us.
I'm sorry, give me that again, Matt.
Matt@keelan.us.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Just a second, Keelan.net.
.us.
.us. I'm sorry. Okay. Matt@keelan.us. I'll do it, man.
All right. You have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Rick.
All of you guys be
You
well.
are a servant leader. Take care.
Thanks. See ya. Bye. Bye, Audrey.
All right. Just a quick reminder that careerusa.org is your one-stop shop for everything for job seekers. And you can look at all of our old recordings if you click on the playlist. And looking ahead, Patty Bashy is now hosting our LinkedIn Tuesdays. Thank you, Patty. I think we're into week 5 or 6 now. And next week, Tuesday, Locke Anderson is going to present how to use LinkedIn for job hunting. So be sure to check that out. And then there's Patty's kudos. Then on Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting in person. Reminder that Thursdays we're no longer meeting, and we hope to see you next week on Friday, in which we will hear from Paula Calise on the art of hello. This is going to be in person, so we'd like to get as many people in the room as possible. So please come, and maybe she'll even go to lunch with us. Who knows? And then the first Friday of June is open forum, where we have a general dialogue and hopefully as a group answer all your burning questions about your job search. All right, and as a reminder, we're gonna head to Country Burger for those in the room that want to join us down the road here on Parker Road. And thanks for joining.
Thank you.
See you next week. Take
Thanks,
care.
Matt.
Happy Memorial Day.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And yes, thank you for your service, all veterans.
What, good to see you, sir.
Hey. I've got a few.